Welcome to the Young Jerks. We're back again. Did a little impromptu show earlier about Grant Smith Ellis. I think people should definitely check that out. I hope you understood what I laid out quickly. I know a lot of people are already aware of it, but it was breaking news, so we wanted to put it out as quickly as possible. Definitely going to follow up on that, but please check that out and support Morris Stringer, who is also facing charges. We're talking about Karen Reed tonight. Very similar injustice in the justice system with Mara Springer. So check that out for Mr. Stringer, excuse me. Check it out, please. Help him. He's got a Give, Send, Go. I just donated $100. I just noticed someone gave $500 to it. Thank you so much. That's what's going to help. He's facing some BS related to Grant Smith Ellis. So definitely check out that last video. Also want to thank last night's guest. She was amazing. Jessica Machado, the reporter from the Fall River Reporter. If you haven't heard that interview, check that out. That was great last night. We're definitely going to have her back on the show. Like I said, we're working on great guests on this show. A lot of you note that this is the place where presents kind of the best interviews. And I think that's what I try to do best here is just bring on the experts. Let's talk to them. We'll give them space to breathe and let's have fun. And we're going to do that tonight. We've got some other great, I can't wait to share with you some of the guests we're going to have on the show upcoming. But tonight we've got two great guests. So just a perfect example of going from last night with Jessica Machado to the two guests we're going to have on tonight. Returning to the show is who I advertise, my buddy, Dr. Drew, Mazza Media. What's up, bro?
Mike, what's going on? The Dr. Drew thing's really picking up steam all across the internet now. That is really funny. I saw someone call me Dr. Mazza early.
I stole that too from Jamal Crawford. Thank you. My brother from many other mothers. No, I don't. Jamal is a black guy. I'm a white guy. So we have the same last name. We say we're brothers. It's pretty cool. So Jamal, I got that from Jamal.
That's awesome. Yeah, I keep hearing it written all the time, so I'm getting a big laugh out of it, and it's just really, really funny to hear that. So I'm a doctor. I guess you got Dr. Turtleboy, you got Dr. Mazza, or Dr. Drew now. So I guess I'm getting my doctor's title now. So I guess I'm gonna have to get some kind of sign to put on my desk or something at work.
Yes. And we've got so much to talk about with the Karen Reed stuff tonight.
Oh yeah.
Just breaking news just happened again. The ruling to dismiss, the judge ruled against the dismissal. We'll probably talk about that tonight. We've got another special guest in the green room that some of us saw in Turtle Boy this morning. Do you want to introduce her or do you want me to?
Go right ahead. It's your show, Mike.
It's my show.
It's your show.
I want to put you on the spot because I'm not sure if I'm going to say her name correctly. I screw up names and I'm worried, but I'll give it a shot.
You got it.
I watched that show. There was that show. What was that show? You know what I'm talking about? The MTV show. Yes.
Yeah.
So I think I might be able to handle it because of that show.
Right. I think you got it.
We got Lauren De Laguna. I believe she's an attorney. Oh no, I didn't get what is it? Say it right for us.
I say De Laguna, but it's made up anyway, so it doesn't matter. And Aiden always introduces me by my real government name anyways, so it doesn't really matter.
Excellent.
De Laguna. I like that.
Yeah.
So tell us about yourself, because I believe you're an attorney, right?
I am about to be an attorney. I just was admitted. I still need to swear in Arizona. And I passed the bar in Arizona and Florida, and I am waiting for some legal processes to hopefully be an attorney in both states.
That's great. And you were on Turtle Boy today. You were talking about some of the legal stuff going on in courts. One of the things that I loved to hear, you discuss in Mazza Media too, is the prosecution is now asking for the trial in the Karen Reed trial for the protesters to be banned, basically, to make it illegal to have a sign. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so that is, especially with the way that the state worded it, it seems like it falls under strict scrutiny. So there are different varying levels in which the state is allowed to restrict speech, but there has to be, and with those levels, there has to be different egregious levels of need to restrict speech. So, for instance, if the Commonwealth had just said, "Hey, protesters are getting in the way of um, witnesses or the jury," which isn't the case yet because we're still in pretrial. In that case, the Commonwealth has some ability. It wouldn't be strict scrutiny, it'd be a step lower. But in that case, the Commonwealth would be able to say, "Hey, we're just going to prevent you guys from stopping the case from going." As soon as the Commonwealth is like, "You're not allowed to have Karen Reed shirts, anything related to the defense, anything related to Karen Reed, anything related to John O'Keefe," they are saying what type of speech that you're not allowed to engage in. And that becomes the highest level of scrutiny that the state. So that has to be narrowly tailored for a very specific government purpose. And saying 500 feet from the courthouse is not narrowly tailored at all. It is a very explicit violation of the First Amendment. And I don't know, I've never seen anything like this. As I was doing research on this today, um, the only similar things that I kind of saw were protesters being banned outside of Supreme Court, like the Supreme Court justices' houses, but that is distinctly different. There are always protests outside courthouses, and that's allowed. It's public space. It doesn't impede with the trial. It doesn't impede with the Commonwealth's ability to put on the trial or the defense's ability to defend themselves. So them preventing people from speaking with no legitimate government purpose is a pretty big slap in the face to the First Amendment.
Do you think there's any chance the court will grant it, maybe change the amount of feet, or do you think they'll just say no?
I think that if you're saying they're not allowed in the courtroom, maybe that would be legitimate, that you can't have signs in the courtroom. Even then, though, it's a very, I don't know how it's going to be. Hopefully, it gets struck, but we've seen so many unconstitutional statutes and unconstitutional rules used recently in this Karen Reed case, or in the Turtle Boy case. So there's no telling what's going to happen, in my opinion. Hopefully, if there's due process, if there's justice, hopefully.
And what do you think, Mazza Media?
Well, this is certainly right in line with all the other tactics that we've seen them employ over the past several months and longer than that, furthermore, about what I've expected. It's so outrageous that even apparently if you have a dog that you're bringing and they have free Karen Reed clothing on, that's an offense now, apparently, that they're trying to, get Auntie Bev to approve. So just every single angle where anyone's tried to exercise any First Amendment rights have been countered with some kind of tactic like this all along the way. We look back at the Canton Nine, who simply stood across from a pizza place with signs well across the street, not within earshot really of a apparent witness. And here we are with them being charged and with witness intimidation, and still to this day, they haven't made a determination on that because they just want to stamp everybody with it long enough to keep them away from anybody that's a protected witness and tagged as a witness. And it's just more of the same nonsense. I heard it today. I'm like, oh, here we go again. They're just employing the same tactics that they've done at higher levels, like Lauren said, to Turtle Boy, to the Canton Nine, and now to what are peaceful protesters that are wonderful people that are come off as a family, let alone angry protesters because they're peaceful protesters. And it's just been this constant nonsense to shut down this movement. And what they want to do too is I'm concerned that, well, I'm not concerned. I think that they're concerned that this case is going to take on a bigger and bigger spotlight as we as it lends itself closer and closer to trial. And what they don't want on the national media, such as all your major news outlets around the United States and perhaps even worldwide outlets, is they don't want to see a bunch of people in free Karen Read shirts with free Karen Read signs, just like we've seen plastered over court TV and all the local networks. And they want to shut down everyone on this side of the ball's voice. And that's exactly what they're trying to do right now. They're trying to, it's an attempt by Adam Lally and the Commonwealth, Michael Morrissey, to shut us down. And
right.
Good.
Yes. Mazza,
Yeah,
you got
that
a little question?
statue.
Oh, I'm
Sorry, go ahead.
He's got a little question. Someone was curious because you always come on our show and you go. Now I notice you're going on other shows, which I like. I think when people come on our show, they end up getting booked on other shows, which is great. But the question was just curious: is there a reason we never see Mazza?
That's the big question. Well, I'm Batman, basically, I guess. I'm just trying to protect the ones I love from getting harassed, I guess. But ultimately, I don't have a camera to hook up to my computer, so that's pretty much the biggest reason.
That's two good reasons. It's more than you don't even need two good reasons, but you have
Right.
two good ones. I like those.
Right.
Yeah.
There you go.
So you were saying, Lauren?
Yeah, with the same statute, I was going to say you brought up the Canton Nine. The Canton Nine, the Turtle Boy case, and now with this 500 feet ruling, they're all using the same explicitly unconstitutional statute. I don't, and so what happens is legislators of a certain state can write a statute and it can be unconstitutional. They don't believe it's unconstitutional. It gets put out. People get charged with that statute. And then they go to the trial level and they get convicted. And they have to go to the appellate level in order to prove that that statute is unconstitutional. So to get rid of a statute, you have to be found guilty and then go to the appellate level. And that's a really daunting task. And if you don't have the funds for attorneys to do that, or you're just, not aware of your constitutional rights, you're not going to go through that. So with this statute, it is so overly broad. You're not even allowed to basically bother someone who might potentially be a witness in a particular case. It's so egregiously broad that it's clearly unconstitutional, but they're just going to beat people with it, knowing that they're not going to want to lose at the trial level to go through the appellate level. People are scared of court, rightfully
Absolutely.
so.
No,
in jail.
Yeah, I talked to an attorney this year about this, and at one point, I was like, "Shouldn't we be challenging this?" And he said to me, "He's like, do you really want to hire me? Do you really want to have to go and get busted and all this shit? Do you really?" That was what he was saying to me, and it's so true. It's like a sane person wouldn't want to go through that.
Yeah, it's really the courageous people who are willing to be like, hey, I got charged with this statute. It's unconstitutional. Instead of taking this easy plea, I am going to, be found guilty at the trial level and then fight it at the appellate level. And that's extremely daunting, unbelievably daunting. I believe if I were put in that situation, I hopefully wouldn't cave, but I think I would likely cave and just take the plea. It's scary. And Aiden went to frickin' jail for 60 days? That's terrifying. I can't even imagine that. The First Amendment is really being butchered all over the country. I don't know if you follow the Chile de Castro case as much as I don't like that man, but similarly, he's getting railroaded. So it's unfortunate.
I'm not familiar with it. I've heard his name a few times through all this stuff, but I really don't know much about it.
He's just some crazy guy who tries to film police officers while they're making arrests. And so he does this all over the country. And one day the cop arrested him for doing it. And the judge, and he had a court date and he walks into court and there's an officer in the courtroom, a bailiff, and he calls the bailiff a pig within earshot of the judge. And that was it for him. Hearing hadn't even started. Judge's mind was closed off. She wasn't listening to what his attorney had to say. And he went to prison. He's in prison right now.
Yeah.
He's an asshole and he's stupid and he doesn't know the law, but I don't think that it was constitutional to throw him in jail simply for filming a police officer. I just don't. Especially if there's no statute in place in Nevada saying that they're not allowed to be within a certain range of police officers.
And he's a First Amendment auditor. Is that what he is? It's got to
Yeah.
be. Yeah, that's what they call
Yeah.
themselves. I've seen some. They sometimes are very obnoxious. Let's put it that way. But
Exceedingly
they have
obnoxious.
rights. Yeah, but they have rights too. So I mean,
They do. Right. And some states are working to write statutes to prevent them from like impeding on officer investigations. But in Nevada, where he was, I didn't hear any statute brought up in his trial. It was just he didn't comply with officer orders to back up enough. Even though he did back up, it wasn't enough for the officer. And so therefore, he's done. He's in jail.
exactly. Terrible.
So yeah, same with Canton Nine, same with Turtle Boys, same with all of this. It's sad.
Speaking of the Canton Nine, are you surprised? I'll ask both of you. I'll go to Lauren first, since she's the legal expert here out of the three of us. Canton Nine, that the charges haven't been dismissed. We've been waiting for them, like a magistrate, to decide, which is usually the magistrate decides right on the spot, as far as I know. And we're waiting and waiting and waiting. Are you surprised that it's taken this long for them to decide?
I think that's somewhat intentional. I think it's just to put fear in their hearts. I think they realized as they were going through Aiden's case that it's a really weak statute to try to prosecute people on. And I think it would be embarrassing if they prosecuted all 9 and all 9 were found not guilty. So I think it's just strategic for them to wait it out, wait until the Karen Reed case is over, and then they can just dismiss the charges.
Mazza?
Yes, so what I think is this, I agree with Lauren. I think the plan is that they knew that these charges were ridiculous, and they knew that these charges would never be stamped on them in any kind of legal level, but they have them essentially on them. So basically, the idea for me was that this was kind of a defense strategy to protect their witnesses, because certain witnesses were complaining about constantly getting badgered at sports games and outside restaurants they may be working at or own. And essentially what this is a strategy to deter anyone from the Free Karen Reed movement from talking to them or getting near them. And what they're doing, in my particular opinion, is they know it's not going to stick, but they do have the ability to just charge everybody, have a couple hearings, which they haven't had now since January, and then just leave the charges in a folder somewhere, and they're just going to sit there collecting dust. And then what's going to happen is one day when this case is all over and it's all blown over, suddenly you're just going to hear, well, yeah, we dropped all the charges. They're dismissed. You guys can all walk home. So I think that's the plan, is they used them as an example that day to send a message to everyone on this side to say, hey, leave us alone. If not, you're going to end up with the same charges that the Canton Nine got. And they're not going to say, like they had the younger member that was on the show, you had him on several months ago, where he was under 18, his charges were dismissed, leaving the 8 out there. So essentially what's happening is they don't want to suddenly say, well, the rest of the Canton Nine, you're free to go, these charges were ridiculous. They don't want that, because what happens the next day or a day later is they got 10 to 15 people outside a pizza shop with Free Karen Reed signs again, and that's what they're afraid of, and that's what they're trying to prevent. So I think this whole thing is specifically a legal tactic by them to again try to silence our side. Yep.
An illegal tactic. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's talk about court today. It was kind of underwhelming in a lot of respects. But it was also because my audio was screwed up. I didn't hear a lot of it, actually. I don't know what was going on with that audio. I apologize that we were streaming terrible audio. I took off to walk a dog, and then I realized I was so upset. I was like, oh man, I should have just waited. I should have waited. But what did you hear today? What anything you want to talk about today?
Yeah, I heard a few. Yeah, I heard a few things. I heard that they're basically destroying all of the hair evidence to keep testing it and prevent the defense from ever testing it themselves. I heard that they are trying to suppress a lot of information under the guise of work product doctrine. And there was something else, but I'll go through my notes. But the work product doctrine discussion was very interesting. And I've since done some research on that since they had their hearing. And I do not see how the state is going to argue that this is work product. It should at least be reviewed in camera. So, yeah, work product, for those who don't know, is basically all evidence is discoverable. If you have evidence that's relevant to the case, then the prosecution must give it to the defense unless it's just their thoughts. So, like if the attorney is writing down legal theories or talking to a non-retained expert, someone who isn't going to testify for them, or if the expert is just writing drafts, that's all in preparation for trial. Anything that's preparing for the case, they don't have to give that. That's privileged material. But what the Commonwealth is trying to say, though, is that their conversations with witnesses before the grand jury is considered workplace doctrine, and that is just not the case. The only time something like that, where a witness where a witness talking to the prosecution or the witness talking to their attorneys is considered workplace doctrine, is if the legal ideas are so intertwined that they cannot be separated. The case that is brought up is Upjohn, where a company had a bunch of attorneys, and those attorneys reached out to the employees of the companies who were also witnesses to ask them questions in preparation for trial. So that's the example. That is not what we have here in this Karen Reed case. So the fact that they're trying to argue that that talking to witnesses is workplace is quite egregious and embarrassing, honestly, on Lunchbox's part.
So what do you think the court will decide on it?
I hope she at least decides to review it in camera, which means that Auntie Bev will be allowed to take all of the documents that the Commonwealth believes is privileged or work product, and she will be able to read it herself without anyone else, so without the defense team. And she's supposed to review it and determine, okay, is this actually work product or is this discoverable evidence? And if it is discoverable, then she must give it to the defense. So I hope she does that, especially because there's no reason for her not to review it, right? Why not just review it yourself and double check? I don't see, but the prosecution's against even Auntie Bev looking at it to make sure that it's indeed work product.
Mazza?
Yeah, so I was thinking just about something Alan Jackson said a few hearings back, where he said that the Commonwealth has a vested interest in this case. And then I go back to what we're hearing today with a motion to shut down Free Karen Reed movement supporters from wearing certain attire. And I just sit there and say to myself, it's just like Alan said, they're not going to stop with their tactics, and they're going to continue on as long as they can. Auntie Bev today was very much back to her old self, that she's kind of backed off the past couple of hearings. She hasn't been as favorable towards the prosecution as she was several hearings back, where she was getting on David Yannetti for putting up signs and everything, charts rather. And today, Tanis Yannetti, who was the sister of David, for those that don't know, who represented Karen in court today, literally had to say to Auntie Bev, look, I just want you to note it for the record, okay? It was like she was all over the place, and going here, going there, talking about this, talking about that. And Tanis is like, I just want you to note it for the record, if that's okay. We're trying to make it, and that's been the thing for the defense, is that they always have to fight to talk. You have a 10-minute time limit, which we didn't see today. Mike, I know you're intrigued about whether or not that would take place today. Interestingly enough, it did not. But again, she's always making the defense fight twice as hard. What did we see today? They wanted them, the defense has a certain amount of time to produce certain information, but then the prosecution, and I saw Olivia's comment or post today where she made a comment, and she's in the comments right now. The prosecution has had over 2 years to produce certain things, and they've either taken forever to do it, or over a year and a half to do it, or they're just producing it now, or they maybe haven't even still produced whatever it may be across the board that needs to be produced. So this is not a judge that's being fair and impartial. This is a judge, as we've long known, that is favorable to one side, and essentially she's a guardian for everything that's the Commonwealth and the prosecution, and furthermore, state police, McAlbert's. I mean, where does it begin? Where does it end? You decide. But that's what I'm seeing again is more of that today. And her attitude towards Alan Jackson, and really before Alan Jackson even came on the Zoom call today, she was all over Tanis about, well, they should have been present and blah, 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 blah. It's like, you know, you never cut this kind of slack to the defense, but you cut it to Lally, who walks in that courtroom week after week, looking like he was up till 5 a.m. drinking beer all night, and then walks into court with his head down, like, "Oh man, I'm all hungover from last night." It's laziness, and the defense has proven time and time again that they're more than prepared, even though they're not saying everything during these pre-trial hearings. They are saying a lot, and what they're saying is direct and it's to the point. And the prosecution talks in circles. Adam Lally does it all the time. He never gets called on it by Auntie Bev. Anytime the defense starts to make a really sound point, you have a time limit. We got to cut you off right there. That's not to be argued today, and she's always battling them. And that's why I kind of appreciated Tanis today, kind of biting back. Like, can you just note this, please? And this shouldn't be this much of a fight. With respect, Judge. And I kind of liked her attitude today, and I was paraphrasing kind of what she was essentially saying to her. But that was a great bite back moment by Tanis, and I liked it a lot. So I defer back
Yeah,
my
it's
time.
pretty astounding. Auntie Bev was trying to give the defense crap today for not filing a motion that they anticipated. They anticipated filing a motion to dismiss. They decided that it would be strategic not to file the motion. In my opinion, it's likely that they find it strategic because every time they show their cards at all, the prosecution turns around and covers up their tracks, which they're not supposed to do. They're supposed to be finding the truth, not trying to convict someone. But anyway, another issue I had is when Auntie Bev was like, why don't you have this motion to dismiss before me today? And also, I was promised by David Yannetti that this would be different than the motion for sanctions and the motion for egregious misconduct. So how is this different? I'm sorry, Auntie Bev. You're literally reminding us of the fact that you denied a motion for sanctions in the same hearing that we are actively discussing the fact that the prosecution still hasn't handed over the necessary discovery that they were required to do. And she's trying to make Yannetti look dumb. Like, wait, you are bragging about the fact that you denied motion for sanctions when there are clear need for sanctions. When an attorney messes up as egregiously as Lunchbox has repetitively, you have to give sanctions. Lunchbox needs to experience a jail cell. He needs to experience what it is like. He wants to throw Karen in there without giving her the evidence. He should at least see what it's like first.
I am, if I may, Mike, just for a moment, to that point, there was an example where Auntie Bev had asked Adam Lally, I can't remember when it was. It might have been November or December of last year, but she essentially said, why haven't you produced it? And he says, well, we're going to get on that. We're going to get on that. And she says, okay, I want it by such and such a date. And then she says, to Lauren's point, right after this, she makes the comment, if for any reason you can't have it in by that deadline, just let me know and I can get you more time. She basically said it was. So when she does set the strict deadlines, which I've only seen her do once, then there she goes again, giving him the leeway again. She's always doing that constantly.
Yeah, it's crazy. And why has it taken over a year to test a piece of hair? Why did it take us over a year to determine that there were microscopic, sorry, my dog's drinking water loudly. I don't know if you can hear that.
A little bit.
Why is it taking the defense over a year to discover microscopic pieces of glass? Why is it taking the defense over a year to, sorry, not the defense, the Commonwealth over a year to give the defense information regarding his arm and whether or not there's any dog DNA on it? And the whole case has been wildly mishandled. It's embarrassing on the Commonwealth part.
And what do you think today? The defense withdrew their addendum or what supplemental on the motion to dismiss, and now we have a ruling on the motion to dismiss. Why do you think they did that today?
Yeah, I think that they're not planning to file the motion to dismiss until the last possible moment, and they may not even. So there's a motion to dismiss, and then there's a motion. Then you can rule on summary judgment, and then you can have a re-summary judgment. So they might wait for a later point to dismiss the case. They might choose for legal strategic reasons not to do this motion to dismiss, because so different points in which you could drop the case happens at different points of the case. So if they do this, if they wait until after the trial kind of starts a little bit, then they could file a different type of motion and it won't give away their hand. If they don't wait, if they want to file the motion to dismiss and drop things before the case happens, then they have to tell the Commonwealth, hey, this is everything we have. This is why she's innocent. This is why you have to dismiss the case. And what we know from the past is every time the defense has put something forward, such as the 227 Google search for Hoslong to dying cold, or whatever it may be, the dog marks, or whatever it may be, the Commonwealth has gone back and fixed the issue and covered up the issue,
Right.
or tried to
Great
find
point.
some way around it. So if they were to file this motion to dismiss, they have to show their hand, and that will give time for the Commonwealth to fix all of the mistakes before trial, especially because it's unlikely that Auntie Bev will rule on the motion to dismiss in the defense's favor, especially if they're denying sanctions. She's denying sanctions when it is legally obvious to me that sanctions are required if discovery hasn't been turned over by now.
Interesting. Olivia Nile had a follow-up on that too. She posted, I think the reason why they want to wait is because they want to get Lally's notes from those meetings he's had with witnesses before their federal grand jury testimonies, which is what they submitted about, discussed today.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a
great point. Because if they wait and they file like a summary judgment, then they'll have all of the prosecution will have had to have turned everything over. So the prosecution won't be able to go back. So if they wait, they'll get Lally's notes, they'll get whatever they need, and then the Commonwealth won't be able to patch it back up. So that's also a great point. You get 100% of the Commonwealth's evidence and they can't go backwards. But
excellent.
It's so clear. Olivia has been spot on. Every time I read something from her, she's always spot on. But
awesome.
Yeah, she's really awesome. Yeah, it's pretty egregious. It's pretty sad.
Mazza Media, what do you got?
Again, to that point, they've fixed everything along the way. You look at Michael Proctor's repeated undocumented trips back to 34 Fairview Road over and over and over again. You look at Berkowitz, the retired police chief in Canton, driving down the street one day and suddenly go, oh, there's a piece of taillight on the ground right there. This is after the place has already been swept by the Canton PD, state police, and suddenly they're still finding stuff. Their way of just revealing new things. Oh, there's new evidence, there's new things, and it just gets down to the primary point of this case. The 2:27 a.m. Google search happened. The data, Apple Health data, that shows that John O'Keefe went up 3 flights of stairs, traveled from the vehicle. is documented. You got camera footage of Karen Reed searching for John O'Keefe and leaving the parking lot, backing into his vehicle. The taillight still intact, cracked at the absolute worst case scenario. Nothing worse than that. And it's just, you look at this again, and I love what Lauren said about the tactics here, about from the defense side, about getting to the trial and what can kind of be uncovered there. And Olivia made a great point that I wanted to highlight as well. I believe you did highlight, Mike, on the screen, was basically the defense knowing that they can get certain information once they get to that trial and not tipping their hat too much, because early on they were kind of showing the defense their cards more, because I think
tipping
they were
their
trying to
hand.
power through this thing and just be like, here it is, this is evidence that she's innocent, and they kind of kept getting all this blowback constantly. And now it's to the point where, well, you know what, let's just kind of hold back everything else we have, and then once we get in that trial situation, we'll start throwing our George Foreman, straight right and left jabs and power punches once we get in the real ring, if and when it goes to trial. And I'm still on the fence about whether or not it's going to go to trial. There's the federal government that may step in, but if they don't, I'm still wondering if they're going to push back the date of the trial. They've already done it. It should have started about 2 weeks ago. It's coming up again in mid-April, which is the presently scheduled time frame. And does it get pushed out again? Do they keep deferring for the very reason that they might be afraid to have this go to trial, because the feds could learn a lot more by it going to trial, and the defense actually getting many of the witnesses, quote unquote, on the witness stand and getting more information out of them that could be quite incriminating. So I'm looking to see what's going to go on here. But I'm very interested, now that we've got through these 2 hearings last week and this week, and kind of seeing how everything evolves over this next 2 to 3 week period, and seeing if that trial date gets pushed back again. But for me, it's almost to the point where it's like, okay, Auntie Bev, we know she's not going to dismiss this case, but if we get this thing to trial and you get 12 jurors sitting in that room and they hear all this evidence, and that's the thing I'm thinking too. What happens if you look at it from the opposing side, if this thing goes to trial and Alan Jackson, David Unetti and company absolutely clean the prosecution and all the witnesses' clocks in court, and then all of a sudden the jury is like, well, it didn't take us long to decide on this, but the evidence is certainly in Karen Reed's favor. We don't have enough information to really incriminate her and get her sent to prison. We're putting in a not guilty verdict, and then that's it. And I wonder if they're afraid of that too, because they could end it with a dismissal now, or if it goes to court. I think the evidence, just like Mr. Reed said today, the evidence is on their side. She's factually innocent, and if this thing goes to trial, I think that jury is going to just deliver a not guilty verdict. And once that happens, if that goes to trial and that not guilty verdict is declared, we got mass hysteria for the other side now, because guess what? Karen went to court in a trial, hypothetical trial. She's not guilty. And what happens now? Who killed John O'Keefe? That becomes the biggest question that should have always been the question all along. And Karen Reed has been nothing but buried under these false accusations and this cover up, trying to incriminate her and trying to say that she did it when it's absolutely false. There's no evidence. Someone on X the other day said, oh, show me the evidence. And someone did. And then they got blocked once they did, because there's no evidence that
Of
you have
course.
that she did it. Yeah.
Yep.
There's no
Yeah.
evidence that you have that she did it. She's an innocent woman. And there's nothing that I see overwhelmingly, and people say, oh, well, you got to look at it more objective. I have. And every single time I do, and you know what I'm talking about, Mike, every single time I do, I just don't see Karen Reed doing it. Her dad got up there, interviewed with NBC, Channel 5, Fox, Boston 25 News, gave a great interview after the hearing today. People that are innocent and have a child that's innocent, they don't speak to the media like that. They run and hide. And I do know another side that runs
So
and hides
true.
quite a bit.
That is so
Absolutely.
true.
Yep.
Yeah. I think I hope the trial doesn't get pushed back. I think that's a lot for the Commonwealth to deal with. So they're dealing with the fact that they haven't turned over evidence timely. So that could give them a reason to push it back, so that we need to turn over all our evidence. But at the same time, they have the Canton Nine just waiting. So, and they have well, I guess they have no rights to hurry it up because they haven't been charged yet, right? The Canton Nine haven't been charged.
No, they
So
haven't been charged. They've just been, I think I might have misstated when I used the word charge, but essentially they've had I think maybe charges
I think they were
pressed against them.
served. I think they
Yeah,
were
served. Yeah.
served. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
those
yeah,
charges
because the
haven't been official.
magistrate
No.
is still, yeah.
Right. So that's another thing that I think is interesting because they haven't been charged yet, then they have no right to a speedy trial, right? So
That's a
they
good
have
point.
no right to push this along and get it forward and then continue on with protesting as they want. So that's probably another reason that they're delaying charging them. But yeah, so the Commonwealth could just keep this going basically as long
Yeah.
as they want.
Keep the Canton Nine in an extended timeout. Yeah. From
Yeah.
protesting and, going to talk to anyone that's tagged witness, things like that. And, like I said, you see what Liley's trying to do now to all the protesters outside of the court, in Dedham. That's going on now too. Now they're trying to up the level where, if you wear a Free Karen Reed shirt, oh, that's going to be trouble. Oh my goodness, just these people.
Mark Randazza is an angel. I love that man. You guys know Mark?
Yes.
Yes.
Remember I said we're gonna have some guests coming up on the show? I think he's
Is
coming on the show.
Mark coming?
Yeah, I
Mark
can't
is
wait.
so he's coming to my swearing in party. He's flying all the way from Massachusetts to Florida to
Very
come hang
cool.
out.
Now where you're
Yeah.
at, Florida? What part of Florida? If you don't
Yeah.
mind me. Yeah?
Miami.
Oh, Miami. Very cool. Very
Yeah.
nice.
Fun. A lot of
It must be a lot better weather this spring than we're having up in Boston right now.
significantly better weather. It's warm here. It is very nice. I lived in Boston briefly. That's how I became friends with Aiden and Mark. Not a fan. Not a fan.
You're still rocking a long sleeve shirt though, Lauren. I see.
I'm always rocking. I do like to stay warm. So even when I'm in a bikini, I usually have like a sweater nearby.
We're all jealous.
but
We are very jealous
Yep.
not right now.
yes.
So about this ruling, I mean, I guess it's not that surprising. I think a lot of us didn't expect Bev Canone was going to dismiss this, but I had hopes. But it definitely seems like it's going to trial now. I mean, I know
Oh, yeah.
Mazza, you said the feds could jump in, but it seems like it's going to trial now. What do we
Yeah.
want to say? Have we looked at this? I've started to look at it. But there's a lot to it. It just came out. Do either of you have comment on the judge, choosing not to dismiss the charges?
For me, it's pretty obvious that she was going to do that. I mean, I feel like sanctions would have been the easiest thing for her to do. Give sanctions to move the trial along. But yeah, so the fact that she couldn't even do sanctions, it's not surprising at all to me. It's a pretty big move to dismiss a case. So yeah, it makes sense to me. I'd love to read what her rationale though.
Yeah.
A lot of it was that she didn't think it would influence the jury, like the things that were brought up, like the relationships was part of it with Proctor, the family members. She was like, there have been other cases where police officers have known witnesses and it hasn't been an issue. It seemed like that kind of thing. Like it wasn't enough. She didn't feel like it was enough.
Yeah, the legal standard, you need to show those three things. You need to show that there was false evidence presented. The evidence was presented in order to indict. Go back up to the legal standard.
You want to see the last?
Yeah. So it says the Commonwealth knowingly or recklessly presented false or deceptive evidence. The evidence was presented for the purpose of obtaining an indictment, and the evidence was probably influenced the grand jury's decision to indict. So the false evidence they're talking about was the fact that they had the relationships. They purposely did not tell the grand jury about the relationship. They said, his sister is friends with them, but he's not friends. Even though that's not true. It was like Proctor, right? That they were talking about, Proctor's sister.
Yes.
And the evidence probably influenced the grand jury. So could you go down now to page 5? Because I'm curious to her response. Okay. Insert.
And this part might even be about Lank. I'm not sure because it started off with Lank and went to Proctor later, but yeah.
Okay. As noted the above, the defendant also maintains that the Commonwealth. Okay, next. Okay.
Yeah, this one's
So
about
this
Lang.
this is her explaining why the false statements of Lank didn't meet all three of those for her. Gave false, deceptive, withheld exculpatory evidence.
I think she said that there were other people that backed up and they didn't need Lank, basically. Like, so that was part of it.
Mm. Oh, she's saying, oh, wow. No. So you have to, step one, you have to show that it was knowingly or recklessly that they did not supply this information. What Auntie Bev is saying is nothing before the court suggests that Sergeant Lank gave knowingly false testimony to the grand jury or that the Commonwealth sought to deceive the grand jury. It was just an oopsies. It was just a silly oopsies. They didn't.
Yeah, right.
It was no big deal. It wasn't reckless per se. It was just an oopsies. What the actual fuck?
Yeah, right. Well said,
Sergeant
Lauren. Thank you.
Lank gathered from
Yeah, see right here, she says the 3 police officers were first in the scene, testified before the grand jury. So she's saying some of the stuff doesn't matter because they had backup on it.
Okay, and then she's saying even if Lank lied on purpose, you have to show all 3 things. Remember, you have to show lied on purpose, was intended to sway the jury or intended to sway the grand jury, and also did in fact sway them. She's saying even if Lank knowingly or recklessly gave false statement to the grand jury, so even if he lied, the defendant has not established the Commonwealth presented Sergeant Lank's testimony for the purpose of obtaining an indictment. Then what the fuck were they presenting it for?
Yeah,
For
right.
fun, for shits and giggles. They just like Lank and wanted his company there at the grand jury. Or that it probably influenced the grand jury's decision to indict. Are you kidding me? Like,
It's so weird. All of this too, it comes down to like Bev doesn't believe the jury would have been swayed, the grand jury. It's like, how does she know? Like, how could she know that? That's what kills me. It doesn't seem like it's very cut and dry. And this is about the
she
state.
doesn't really do a good explanation as to explaining why. She just says, well, it doesn't. He probably didn't mean to lie. There's nothing here showing that he intended to lie. How about the fact that he lied? And also the defense has showed a ton to show that the defense has shown a mountain of evidence to show why he was being purposely reckless or purposely deceiving. And she's just going to say there's nothing here. That was literally her statement. There's nothing in the record that shows that he intended to lie, except for the fact that the whole case of the defense is that it's a conspiracy among these people. That's the entire case. So how could you say that there's nothing on record? Okay. All right. State involvement. The defendant argues that
again, that shows you what side Bev's on, right?
That's yeah. I don't see anything interesting on this page.
Yeah, I think it goes a little. If we go a little further.
Oh, here the relationship with
you want
Albert.
to look at that one? I think that's Lank. Was that? Yeah, that's Lank. Let's look at Proctor stuff because
okay.
Yeah,
I think that was the little. Is this
do you
the
have
part?
anything about the wedding in there?
No, but it has the relationships.
Yeah.
Is this still? I don't know.
No, this is true. That's Proctor. That's correct.
That is Proctor. Okay.
Yeah. Look at the
Oh,
top.
yeah, it's at the top.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then if you look for whenever you're reading legal documents, they're always organized in the exact same way. So the first is going to be telling you like what they try to prove, and then the facts, and then like the facts that were presented, and then the opinion. So we're going to look at 1, 2, and 3. So these are the 3 things that they're saying Trooper Proctor didn't say. Withheld from the grand jury that Trooper Proctor is a close family friend of the Alberts. Pretty important. failed to inform the grand jury that there was an alternate explanation for the defendant's broken taillight. Also pretty important, and would absolutely likely sway a jury, and withheld from the grand jury the death certificate stated that the manner of death could not be determined. These are pretty big, in my opinion. Oh wait, let's go to, hold on, could you go back a page? Okay. So with respect to the first argument, the defendant, blah, blah, blah. Okay, even assuming Trooper Proctor had personal relationships with these witnesses, even assuming, we know this.
I know, right?
Okay.
Yep.
Disclosure
Even
to
though
the
it's been
grand jury
proven.
was not necessarily required. Oh,
Who do they think they're kidding? Who do they
No.
think they're kidding?
especially because didn't a juror specifically ask? And
Yeah.
that's why he answered, "Oh, no. Proctor doesn't know them.
And
Proctor's sister does."
yeah. And then she quotes this. This is the thing. This is the judgment call again. It says, when the prosecutor possesses evidence which would greatly undermine the credibility of evidence likely to affect the grand jury's decision to indict, they must alert the grand jury to the existence of such evidence. Well, they didn't. I mean, she's basically saying like she knows what the grand jury would think.
It's so weird because oh wait, could you go back once?
Yeah.
It says the defendant has not pointed to any case law that suggests a police officer's credibility is greatly undermined if he knows a witness in a case.
I mean, she has a point, but not in this example. This is like he didn't just know somebody; he hit it. He hit it. And who are these people?
What she's trying
It
to
wasn't
say,
just like-
she's trying to say that
Yeah.
she's like, I don't care if they hit it because there's
Yeah.
nothing in the
Yeah.
what she's trying to say here is why is this important? Who cares
Yeah.
if they're friends?
That's what I'm trying to
So
say,
what
though.
if
It's
they
like-
hit it?
It's obviously important because they hit it
Yes.
because they're cops. Like it'd be one thing if it was like the next door neighbor that you never talk to, but you know who they are or whatever, or just a random person that you might know. But these are cops. These are cops. The cops with other cops. I mean, this is working relationships. Like I don't see. She seems like she's out to lunch.
What she's trying to say is they're basically only required to turn over evidence that is necessary, or if there's, what she's trying to say is that the defense was required to show prior case law in which an officer did not reveal that he was friends with somebody in the case, and how that could affect a jury. But you don't need case law for everything. Some things are just obvious. First of all, it'd be very difficult to find case law of any type of corruption like this and that specific incident of a cop lying about a relationship to somebody. So that's a very specific case law, which would be very difficult to find. And furthermore, you don't need case law to provide evidence. You could just provide evidence and facts and common sense that you're friends with somebody and you lie about being friends with somebody. That is common sense, important to a jury, especially when the grand jury specifically asked about that. Like, hey, do they know each other? No, just a sister. That was said.
And especially when there are other cops. Like that should just be, it's so obvious.
They all know each other.
Yeah.
They cannot be objective. And even if they could be objective to a degree, the full level of that objectiveness could always be called into a question.
That's right.
They all know each other. They've been to 2012, Courtney Proctor's wedding. Albert's there,
Olivia.
Proctor's there. The Alberts are like a second family. Came right out of Michael Proctor's mother's own mouth on Facebook. And
So I just think that Bev is just bending over backwards not to dismiss this.
yeah, she's the guardian of their side of this here, and she's like a referee that's just trying to ensure that one fighter defeats the other, by any means necessary. It's just
You can tell sometimes when judges are doing gymnastics in their in their pleadings, especially when they're just like, just don't see the evidence that's directly in front of me. There's nothing in here. Well, what about this? Well, you can't, I have to go to the appellate court for that. I made my ruling.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, we could go through all this, but
yeah,
go ahead.
The only penalty for being a bad judge is your cases get overruled. Like, for instance, Mark Randazza. I one time helped Mark Randazza on a case in Arizona with the Gateway Pundit. The Gateway Pundit was prevented from Gateway Pundit was prevented from sending journalists to journalist-only places to talk to legislators and such. And the reason that the Commonwealth gave is basically that Gateway Pundit isn't a real journalist organization. And Commonwealth isn't really allowed to make those claims. There's like particular ways in which they could limit the amount of journalists if there's not enough space or for particular reasons, but they're not allowed to just say, you're not a real journalist, therefore you're not allowed to get this journalistic information. Mark made his oral argument in front of this Judge Tucci, and it was so good. He just did a great job. He laid out what is required. State's not allowed to restrict the First Amendment the way that they're attempting to. We have a right to freedom of the press, yada, yada. And then the state gets up there and just shits the bed. It's so bad. The state's argument is basically, well, look at the Gateway Pundit. They kind of suck, which is explicitly what the Commonwealth is not allowed to do. They're not allowed to judge based on if they think the content of their work sucks. So it was a clearly obvious case. And we were so excited. We go home. The judge says he's going to think about it. We go home. We celebrate. Mark loses. Mark lost the case. Judge Tucci did gymnastics. He was bending over backwards to help the state, in his opinion. Mark obviously took it to the appellate level, and they won at the appellate level because it was so blatantly obvious. But that's the worst. So what? So then Judge Tucci, what happens to him? Nothing, right? He just gets his case overturned, and Gateway Pundit had to pay Mark to go to the appellate level. So it just hurts. So, and the crazy thing is, I ran into Carrie Lake once at an event, and we were talking about this. Every single time Carrie Lake was in front of a judge in Arizona, it was Judge Tucci. And what happens? And she doesn't have the benefit of the appellate because it doesn't really work like that in her particular situation for her cases that she was with the whole election situation. So she just gets screwed, and there's nothing that hurts the judge. So same for Auntie Bevy. What happens to her if she makes a bad decision? Okay. Go to the appellate level. Yeah, okay, fine. Some other judge will prove me wrong. Okay, whatever. Yeah, that is the attorney for Kata. Sorry, I'm reading the comments.
Yeah, someone wants to know where you got your cute pen.
Yeah, I got a whole bunch of them. Hold on. These are the cute ones. And they all match. And I got them off Amazon along with this little pencil holder. Aren't they cute?
Very nice.
Yeah. I put them with the ugly ones in the highlighter, though. Sorry, pens.
Mazza, you have any comments?
Yeah, it's just typical Bev being Bev. You know, she's just been a doormat style judge for this whole time. And someone said, you know, if we had a different judge, it would change everything. And we saw that very early. You know, she's doing what they're bidding for them and ensuring that this thing does not get out of hand. You know, just control it. And I remember the last time Alan Jackson was in that court, Auntie Bev looked really nervous. Alan Jackson had her wavering. When the federal name, the Fed started getting name dropped in that court, oh boy, did that mood change. You could tell she was getting stressed. She's like, I don't know if I can keep this thing. That's what she's doing. I mean, she's like an NBA official, like Tim Donaghy, who was paid to make sure the Lakers beat the Kings in 2002. I mean, that's what she's doing. She's blowing the whistle when she wants to on the defense, and she's allowing the prosecution to get away from traveling and offensive fouls. And that's all that's all I'm seeing out of her, and it never ends. And you saw it again today. And it's just it's sickening, because it's just, this is in my opinion, I'm sure Lauren would agree, it's a clear-cut dismissal case, and a case dismissed rather prior to trial, and it's just going on and on, and she's just letting it go, because again, they have their own agenda, and she's, they're all in on it. And it's just, I hate to make those kind of accusations without providing certain kinds of evidence, but if not, I'll just say I'm alleging it. I just feel like they're out there, and they're all on one side. It's like we all thought. They're all in on this cover up. They're all making sure that certain people get off the hook here, and they want to pigpile this on Karen and make sure she's locked up for a long, long time. And they could have never expected that this kind of evidence, such as a taillight all but cracked, be in existence. And not only that, they could have never expected that a federal investigation from U.S. Attorney Joshua Levy is ongoing right now. And I think that's really got them shaken, because they tried to keep they've, as much as it's been a struggle to get past this whole other side, whether it's the DA, Michael Morrissey's office, or the judge, et cetera, they never could have expected that things have just been outside of their reach, that they've tried to keep it contained, put it on Karen. Karen's guilty, case closed. It's like, I'll use a reference from Beverly Hills Cop 2. Frame Kane, kill Kane, Kane's the alphabet killer, case closed. And what that means in that movie was that there were a bunch of criminals. They wanted a certain criminal in their group to take the fall, so they frame him for it, they kill him, and then, well, there you go. He did it, and we get away scot-free. That's kind of what's going on here. It's frame Karen, and Karen goes to jail, and we get off scot-free. But they could have never counted on, evidence to show that the taillight's intact, that security footage was there. They could have never counted on a federal investigation going on right now. And whether that's directly involving them, or it's somehow tied to Sandra Birchmore, or maybe it's a part of even more than two cases, which I'm starting to think there could be many more cases that this is tied to that we don't know of. And it could be cases that are 5 to 10 years old for all we know. I don't know, but I'm just speculating. But again, there's so much to this, and they've tried to contain this. They've tried to control this whole thing by having a judge that's in their favor, by getting the right setup going, by having the right state police officer, other right cops involved. And now there's a federal investigation, and like I said, I don't know when they're going to come down with that. Could it be next week? Could it be 2 months, 2 years? I don't know. But at the same time, they're nervous, and whatever they get away with, if they do get away with anything on the go forward, you never know if this is going to come back to bite them in the long term. If the feds, if the feds take up the 2 years or whatnot, and they come back 2 years from now and drop a hammer on them and say, this is what's been going on for a couple of years, this is what happened to Sandra Birchmore, this is something that's going to be explosive, and it's going to be explosive on not only a state level, but it's going to be on a national level, and it's going to be something that's talked about for a while, so long as it's in the local and national psyche and memory. But yeah, like Ruby said, I think it goes back and deeper. It could. It's just it's just another step along the way. It's just something that they're like, man, these people are at it again, and they could have a paper trail going back where they're like, well, they could only have maybe so much to prove that these people are involved in a cover up, but then they might pick from other cases where they said, well, we got this piece of evidence from this particular instance, this piece from this particular instance. Now we have a whole bunch of stuff, and I'm starting to think that's what it is, that this Karen Reed case is not the center of this whole thing. It's another chapter in whatever has been going on behind the scenes from a federal investigation level. And eventually that might come down. And I don't know when. I couldn't predict it, but it appears that this is just another chapter in that overall story. And it's, we've kind of thought that this is kind of the whole story and this is it, but we're starting to see it. This thing's expanding and bleeding. And that's a problem for the DA's office. If they find out that they've had a lot of corruption going on, that's going to be big time news. And this is why we got to keep standing tall and talking about this and not backing down, because this, it's like I've always said, it's a saying I've always had. A lot of times when you think something is crazy and doesn't make sense to you, and it's some kind of cover up or whatever, a lot of times it can be even bigger than you even thought it was. Not saying
This
it is, but
yeah,
it could be.
this one you never know. There's so much stuff going on. It just gets crazy. We'll see where it goes. I want to thank MJ, who's our moderator in the chat tonight. Thank you so much. I know the trolls have been going crazy on other shows, and she's been keeping our show good. There's only like one guy complained because she was too harsh on her, but he never. I said, "What did you post, dude?" And he never got back. It's like, dude, you can't complain and not tell me what you actually posted, because MJ is keeping me. She's keeping our chat good. Like I like it. Thank you, MJ, for supporting us and moderating the chat, and keeping the trolls at bay. Um, we final thoughts, because I want to let everyone know too. Like we're going to be talking about the Canton election. There's an election in the town of Canton, Massachusetts, for a select board, for school committee. We'll be talking to a random effing citizen tonight, hopefully John, about what's going on in Canton. Get an update tonight. He's going to be calling in a few minutes. What are your final thoughts tonight, Lauren and Mazza, on everything with Karen Reed, and even if it's Turtle Boy, anything? What are your final thoughts?
Oh gosh. Well, I do believe that justice will prevail at the end, but it was only due to a massive expense on Karen Reed's behalf, a massive undertaking on her behalf, and also an expense on Aiden's behalf, on Turtle Boy's behalf. It is pretty egregious what is happening to them. Thank God Karen Reed is wealthy enough to pay for such a great attorney, or else we wouldn't even know the story. She would just be in jail for murder, and then you could be next. So I'm really glad this is coming to light, but I'm sorry that she had to be the victim in all of this.
Excellent. And you had a question too. Someone said they wanted to know who you were, which I think we kind of explained at the beginning, but people join in late. Who are you, and where can people follow you and find out more information about you too, Lauren?
Yeah, my name is Lauren De Laguna. I made that up, but it's my name for now. And you could find me on YouTube. You could find me on X. You could find me on Instagram. Instagram's more my bread and butter, but yeah.
Awesome. And it's a Lauren
Lauren De Laguna.
Yeah, De Laguna.
Yeah, it means from Laguna because I'm from Laguna Beach, like the Laguna Beach show.
You are. So do you know the Hills? You know the whole cast, Heidi
Yeah.
and Spencer. Do you
Yeah,
know any of those people?
Lauren actually lives on my parents' lives on my parents' street.
Lauren Conrad?
Yeah.
What about LC? See, I know these
LC
people.
is Lauren Conrad.
Yeah, I was gonna say, isn't that?
Oh, that's
Lauren?
LC. Yes. I'm trying to be cool, and I blew it. What about Spencer? He's the D.
Yeah, Spencer and Heidi, I think they broke up. I don't really know. And also
Good
they're
for
older
her.
than me.
I'm glad she broke up with him.
You watched the show much more than I did. I was in middle school at the time. So, yeah, it was actually really upsetting because everyone in middle school was like, oh, I can't wait to go to high school so that we can be on the Laguna Beach show. And then we all get to high school and the show is canceled. And we're like, oh, boy. We're all what's the point of even being here? But,
you're a couple of years too late. So that stinks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. That's great. I mean, you must be enjoying the Miami weather today compared to what we're having in Boston.
Yeah, I know we're having a beach day. We are planning my huge party, which I'm very excited about. Aiden's invited, Mark's invited. All my friends are 304 attorneys invited. Xena the Witcher is coming, Pixie, all the fun people. So I'm really excited. It's going to be a good time. And
congratulations.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool.
You.
You'll be able to help a lot of people too, which is awesome.
Yeah, but I do just want to say, if you ever want to help out in the legal process at all, there are always volunteer positions. Like because I've been waiting so long to become an attorney, I started volunteering as a guardian ad litem. Those are desperately needed. Guardian ad litems are desperately needed right now. So if you want to volunteer at and kind of be an attorney, kind of, then I highly recommend you volunteer. And yeah.
Thank you so much. I got a question. They said, I don't know any dudes that watch the Hills. I don't even know how I watch the Hills. Like I question my
It
own
was so
manhood
ingrained
on
in
that.
pop culture back then. I mean, I didn't even watch it, but I kind of would see it on from time to time. So
My macho self can handle it. I watch the Hills. Uh,
I
I can
never
still
watched it.
those kids. I
Mhm.
always looked at it. Look at these soft kids. Like that's the way I felt. Like they're not tough like us East Coast people. But anyways, Mazza Media, what are your final? Now I've insulted half the country. Mazza
that's all
Media,
right.
what
It's only
what?
Tuesday. Still
And
got
your
more than a
best.
week left.
Yeah, and you. Sorry, Lauren. Sorry that I didn't mean you. I meant those kids in the hills on the show. If they had had you on, then it would have been like, wow, they're pretty tough. Like it would have been a different story. What Mazza
Yeah.
Media, what do you got for us?
Well, it's going to be an interesting, next month between now and the trial to see if that trial actually starts next month. So I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of precipitates between now and then. So it's going to be a very interesting gray area month, I'm saying. So we'll see how this all goes. But I just say to everyone, let's just keep doing what we're doing. Stay dedicated, stay focused. No matter what you do, whether you're standing out or running for office in Canton, or if you're on X or YouTube or anything that you're doing, just keep up that pace, and let's keep pushing along, supporting Karen, supporting Turtle Boy, and just supporting everyone sticking together. And that's it. I mean, that's what we got to do. But it's gonna be a fight, for sure, from a legal level in that courtroom, and we'll see how that plays out. And it's like everything, the feds, consider it true, but consider it false. And by that, I mean, just don't get your expectations up. Don't be dependent on that coming through soon. Just keep your focus on what you got to do each day and how we got to support the whole um, the whole movement and Karen each day. So that's what we'll continue to do, and stay on that, and we should be good. So we'll see. Like I said, I'd love to see those feds show up tomorrow and just start handcuffing everybody, and that would be the end of it. But we don't know how soon that's going to come. But that's it. Well, the push to free Karen Reed continues, and Lorna, it was nice meeting you. I just learned of who you were earlier
Likewise.
today on Turtle Boy.
Mhm.
So it's awesome. You're great. And like I said, I gave you a follow on X. So awesome.
Yeah. It's nice. It was nice meeting both of you. Thank you so much for having me on. And I was wrong about Kristen or those people from the Laguna Beach show. I
Oh
guess
yeah,
they didn't break up.
Okay.
apparently, yeah,
Heidi
they're
and
still
Spencer.
married. Heidi and Spencer. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Lauren, for being here. Do you mind hanging out for a little longer, Mazza?
Sure. I'll stick around. You got it.
Cool.
Yeah,
Thank
take
you,
care,
Lauren.
Lauren.
Good night. That was great. She was great.
Yeah,
It's
she's
funny.
awesome.
Yeah, she was awesome. You got a comment here that said, if you know who Kristen Cavallari is, you can give me your man card
Oh,
immediately.
geez. I
I
got to
love
Google who
Laguna
that
Beach
is,
and the
actually.
hills. I don't. I even know that she was the love triangle. It was LC and Kristen Cavallari, and Stephen Coletti was the boy that it was the love triangle. She stole
Nah,
Stephen from LC. See how much I know that? And you can't steal my man card. I got the pipes to show, it
I
doesn't.
don't. I don't recall her. Now Lauren Conrad, I knew of. Heidi and Spencer, I knew of, and then
Kristen was the
Audrina,
yeah,
or whoever
yeah,
she was.
yeah, Audrina.
Yep.
Kristen was like on the second or third season. She was like the new girl. She was younger and she was hot. She was hot, and
Mhm.
she ended up marrying a football player, Jay Cutler. They
Yep.
recently got divorced, and yeah, she's still pretty she's a pretty attractive woman.
Pretty attractive. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. But anyways, let's not talk about the hills anymore.
All right, that's enough. We'll
We're
put that in
hoping,
the
yeah,
back in the cabinet DVD rack and calling it a night.
yeah. Maybe we'll talk about something tougher, like I don't know, what's like a tough show, like Starsky and Hutch or something. I don't know.
Starsky and Hutch, Chips.
Chips,
Chips was
yeah,
good.
Chips. Ponch
Yep.
and what was
Punch and
the other
John.
guy's name? Ponch and John.
Miami Vice. Yeah.
How about Bo and what's the other guy's name? Duke, Bo and Luke
Duke.
Duke.
I don't
The
remember
Dukes
that.
of
I
Hazzard.
can't
You
remember.
didn't watch
Oh,
the
the
Dukes
Dukes
of
of Hazzard?
Hazzard?
Not really. No, that
Oh
was
my God, that was
no.
Friday night when I was a
Yeah.
kid. See, now I'm showing you how old I am.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. You're like, oh, these old shows. Yeah, for sure.
The $1
Um,
Million Man. That was another
yeah.
one. Steve Austin.
Yeah, the original Steve Austin. Yeah,
Yes, before Stone Cold.
the $6 million man or whatever he was. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's funny.
So, I was hoping to get John. Let me just text John, but
Sure.
did you see any of that stuff that we were posting about Grant Smith Ellis today?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I didn't have the time to catch your afternoon show. I watched about 10 minutes of it and read a little bit about what you had posted. But yeah, that's some wild stuff that's going on right now. And I ended up, I think I reshared the link to your show on that. I believe I did. Yep, I did. Yeah, I reshared the Give To Now for Justice that's going on right now.
For Mar Stringer?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, he needs support. This guy, Maurice Stringer,
Mm,
is being charged with assault and battery, and he got jumped by
jeez.
3 guys. And
Oh boy.
it's like one of the guys that jumped him just got arrested and indicted for some real bad stuff with children. So, and Grant hasn't made any statements on it. And Grant was hand in arm with these guys, and they've got pictures with the governor of Massachusetts. They got a check from the city of Boston, Michelle Wu and Julia Mejia. So, like, these guys have been hooked up with politicians, and that was Grant. Grant made that happen for them. They ignored the cannabis community, the politicians, and the dispensaries that they shook down. They didn't listen to the community. They didn't listen to me. They listened to Grant Smith Ellis, and look where they're at now. So it's
Jeez.
just another example. Is just like what I call it is a social equity extortion game.
Jeez.
And now one of
Oh
them's
boy.
been charged, and Grant it's the 3 of them. It's the 2
Mhm.
brothers, and one of them's just been charged with Grant. It's 3 people in that group, as far as I know. If
Yeah.
anyone knows Big Hope Project, that's who you associate, those 3 guys. And Grant hasn't made any statements.
Wow.
You know how hard he goes on people. He goes on innuendo and calls people names for all kinds of crazy stuff. But when crazy stuff happens to people that he's making money off of, all of a sudden he does nothing to say about it.
Jeez. Unreal. Jeez. Actually, I say very real. I believe it.
Yeah. So I hope people are giving money. I saw someone gave $500. I gave
Wow.
$100 tonight to Stringer's defense. I saw someone else just gave 500. The donations are coming in. Please give money to Mr. Stringer. He's a black man who does not deserve these charges. He's got a great lawyer now. He just needs to be able to afford it. We have our Canton resident here, John. What's up, brother? Oh, you're on mute. Let's get you off mute.
Hey,
Good. Well, oh man. There we go. Go ahead.
hey, how are you? I'm sorry, I had this on from when I was on last time.
Oh, the Christmas tree.
I don't know how to get it on.
I love it. It looks good. You look fine.
Christmas is a year-round holiday,
Yeah.
John. You're
Hey,
good.
why not? So I hate to. There were some people in the chat that thought I was going to be John Camo, and I'm sorry to disappoint. I am not the corrupted Chino.
Oh, that's my
favorite
fault.
mascot.
I should have made sure people were aware of that. I didn't realize. I'm sorry.
That's
John,
fine.
can we
Hey.
use your last name? Because that's why I didn't use it. I wasn't sure if you're fine with that or not.
I'm John Don. Angela just
Angela just gave it away. Hi, John Donovan.
So there it is. There it is.
So we could talk about the court case today. Were you there? Did you follow any of it? What are your thoughts on everything that's going on with Karen
I
Reed?
found that what didn't happen in court today that we went over today was more compelling than what happened in court. The stay away, potential stay away order, and the also the actual denial of the or the denial to dismiss.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, what do
but-
you think about the stay away order? Do you think people are going to comply with that? You know, some of the folks that have been showing up from Canton
No,
to protest.
this is a force. The free Karen Reed movement is a force to be reckoned with, and they're not going to take that sitting down lightly. I don't see that happening.
And right now, there is an election in Canton. Right now, there's been campaigning. I've seen you carrying some campaign signs on some of the pictures. Am I correct on that?
Yes, I fixed the Christmas tree.
There you go. I see. I like the Christmas tree though. That's fun.
We got to be relevant. I'm sorry. What was the question, Mike?
About you, you've been campaigning in Canton, I believe. I think seen you holding some campaign signs. There's an
Yes,
election in Canton.
I have been with both the Rita and Trish camps. They're running kind of concurrently because there are 2 vacant seats on the board, and we want both ladies, Rita Lombardi and Trish Boyden. She's on the ballot as Patricia Boyden. But we want both of these ladies to be in office and take the seats of the current incumbents. So I've been proudly standing out with the gang. It has been very positive. It's been fun. Never in my life would I think that I would have been out, doing that. I've never been involved in like my local government ever until all of this started. Speaking of Angela, who started in that was my entry point. I thought everything in town was fine because I've only lived here since 2019, so I thought everything in town was fine. I thought the police department was fine. I thought that there was just no questions to be asked. It's a wonderful place to live. And then when Angela took that microphone that day at the select board meeting, and I had kind of heard about the Karen Reed case too, but I thought it was just like an unfortunate accident, as many people did. But when Angela took that mic and planted that seed that, wait a minute, something amiss here. And then it just got me down the rabbit hole to study the case further, to study what has been out there, the reporting that Aiden's put out there. And then just watching things unravel in town with my own 2 eyes, like a spool of yarn. So that's how I got involved in it. And it's hard not to get involved when you live here.
Absolutely. Now, I just want to note someone just gifted 5 Young Jerks memberships. Diane G, thank you so much. That's the first time someone's done that. I don't even know how it works. I'm not sure. Do I have to gift them or does YouTube gift them? I don't even know how it works. I'm wondering if MJ knows, but I really appreciate that. That is awesome. We're gonna have 5 new members. I'm assuming YouTube just generally grabs maybe 5 people. I don't know how that works. I'm gonna have to figure that out. But that's amazing. So thank you so much, Diane G, for doing that tonight. And Rob Brown signed up and became a new YouTube member of our channel as well. So thank you so much. I want to thank everyone who's been supporting us. You can also give on a Venmo or the Cash App. Cash App, it's Mike Crawford 1, or Venmo, Mike Crawford TYJ. If you give a donation, you can also leave a message that I'll read off on the show. So John, you've been supporting Trish Boyden and Rita Lombardi for Canton Select Board, carrying the signs. How is that going? Do you think they're gonna win? How has the response been of the townspeople?
The response has been great. When we stand out, we get lots of honks, lots of people coming by. People that are still on the fence will come up and ask questions. It's been positive. Of course, you get a few guys that have the thumbs down. Probably towny, but those from what I've seen have been few and far between. I think we had the youngest Albert scream at us 2 weekends ago. That was delightful. Good old Randy Scollins came by too, drove by.
What did he do?
Oh, he didn't say anything, but we were like, oh, Randy, I think he got booed as he drove through the intersection. But the events have gone really well. Whether it's a standout, I know Trish has also been doing a lot of meet and greets around town with people, small group meet and greets. She's done neighborhood meet and greets. I went to one at the Alchemist Bakery, which is in Canton Center. It was very lovely. And Trish should not be discounted at all. I know Rita's our rock star, but we have two in this fight, and I want to just make sure that Trish gets her recognition as well. And if you want to vote for the other way, you can, but you're just going to get more of the same. That's the platform they're running on, is more of the same. I haven't heard from either one of them, the gentlemen incumbents, that of anything they're going to do differently. So
including
that's what you're voting for.
yeah, including campaigning on that they take public comment and feedback, and then shutting down public comment for like the second time now recently again. I mean, that just I don't know how you can make those kind of statements in a forum when you just shut down public comment again. And now you can tell what they just did. They're pushing back the select board hearings until after the election because they don't want any more public comment.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, this is that's the good old boy network and Canton at this point.
It was very, very calculated. It felt very, very calculated. And we're not stupid. We're not blind.
Yeah. And Angela is in the chat. Angela Chan O'Donnell, who you mentioned, she says, vote for Trish. She agrees with you 100%. She's voted for Trish. So that's awesome. Yeah. And Rita, of course. Yep. I know a lot of people know Rita. And other people are mentioning Kathleen, who's also running for office, and Jennifer, who's running for school committee. Yes. Got to support the women too. Like, that's the other thing. If you're looking at this, it's such a man town in Canton where it's just all old institutional men.
Right.
Counties. We need some women in there. You really need more representation, and you need the women. And like, I love, a few of the women who were in other committees, like the financial committee, like Cindy. It's like they're all women. Like the only leadership I've seen in Canton is not on the select board. It's some of the other committees, and it turns out women. I mean, it's all women. So it's very interesting. I think you just got to vote for the women. I got to tell you, in Canton, they desperately need it. What do you think about this? Also, like the police audit right now, it seems like it's royally screwed up. What's going on with that? Where do you think it's going to go?
The select board said, well, you said hands off, so that's what we did. So we're giving everything to Randy, and we don't want to deal with it anymore. And then good old Randy decides to choose the biggest vocal opponent to the audit that night to steer the committee. We don't want to call him the committee chair yet because it hasn't yet to be decided, because the committee hasn't been formed yet. So he's not technically the chair yet. But he was designated to steer the committee at this point, and he's steering it down a ravine into the gully, doing everything he can to obstruct it and to be almighty powerful. It doesn't sound like this brings him joy. And it's a free position. So I have no idea why he accepted this other than to obstruct it. He claims otherwise, but no one's buying it.
Power. What I love about tonight's show is we started off with not that many listeners, and throughout the show, it's not like we have a record amount, but it just keeps going up. That's what I know. It's a good show. When we don't lose listeners, we just keep gaining them slowly over the show. And this has been a great show. I want to thank all of our guests. We're going to continue here. But we did get something. I think we got a super chat. See, this is such a ghetto show over here. We don't have the video. We just do it ourselves.
Yeah, you sing it yourself, Mike.
I think you got a super chat. Thank you, Clara, for that super chat that we'll never forget. But I want to thank Diane G. She not only bought memberships for people, and some great people got, I guess Olivia Nile actually got one of the memberships. YouTube does randomly assign them. That's awesome. So I want to thank Diane G for buying the memberships, and Olivia got one. I also want to thank her. She just gave another super chat, $5. And she said, great job, John, Trisha, and Rita. And this is another, she's answering questions too, because there was a question in the chat earlier. When is the election? Early voting has started already, right?
Early voting is this week up to Friday. If you are a Canton Town resident and you're watching this right now, it's tomorrow and Thursday at Town Hall, 8 to 5, as long as Town Hall's open. Fridays, 8 to 1. Town Hall closes early, and that's the end of early voting. Otherwise, you have to wait till April 2nd and go in person at your designated precinct,
which would be this upcoming Tuesday.
Yes.
So it's not a long ways away. It's basically, after this weekend on Tuesday, Go vote in Canton if you haven't done the early voting already.
And we have a lot of people watching this that are obviously not residents of Canton, and they ask, well, what can I do to help? Well, first, you can join us at any of the standouts. We love company, and there are tons of signs that need to be held and a lot of cheering that needs to be done. So that's one way you can help. But if you know someone in town that's kind of wants to stay out of the fray, who just there, believe it or not, there are still people in this town that have no idea what's going on. I don't know how it's possible, but they have insulated themselves to the point where they don't even know there's division, or they've heard of the Karen Reed case, but they're kind of, they've only what's been on the, mainstream media. So it's these people we need to reach out to get to the polls and explain, why they should vote the way they're voting. So if you know someone whose vote could just, these elections come down to singular votes. That's another thing I
Yes.
want to mention. Every one of our select boards for the past, I think, 3 elections, it's come down to less than 10 votes. So if you think your vote doesn't matter here
It
in the town of
does.
Canton, it absolutely does.
We've seen votes in Boston, big cities decided by 1 vote, 6
Yes.
votes. Like so a smaller place like Canton, it can definitely make a difference.
So if you're
Ange-
from out of town and you have a buddy, like, make a day of it. Like, if you're gonna be there on Tuesday after work, hey, I'll pick you up. We'll go. You can go vote, and then we'll go out to eat. Make a day of it. Make it fun, and it won't take that long to vote. Angela wants me to bring up. Oh, okay. We also have, thanks to the clown parade in town, who are doing this write-in campaign. They want to do write-ins for people who are just singular or unopposed. They're unopposed on the ballot. It's just them, and then the plan is to put their person in instead of the person that went through the actual proper channels, got the signatures, put themselves out there. So it's very important that you vote for the people that actually took the time to register their name on the ballot. So
Awesome. And again, it's this Tuesday will be the election to find out if Rita and Kathleen and Trish and all the people we want to win, Jennifer for school board. Hopefully, if you're in Canton, and if you know people in Canton, call and let them know. Tell them why they should be.
absolutely. Please. Just like the police audit, we were pleasantly surprised by the outpouring. More people came to vote for that than come out for an annual meeting. And that's what we want to see here. We want landslides. We want, this is an April election. Who goes out and votes in April, but that's the way it's done in Canton. So, please, just take a little bit of time and go ahead and please vote. We need people who are concerned. A lot of people I hear from a lot outside. I'm so worried about your town. I'm so worried about the people in the town. You should be. I have never seen division like this. I don't want there to be division like this. I don't want factions. I don't particularly like the sniping. I'd prefer not to, but sometimes I
Exactly.
have to defend people I care about. So I'm looking forward to the healing and the restoration of trust, and that is what Rita and Trish are both running on, and that's what we need. I don't have to agree with everybody in town, and you don't have to vote for everyone I vote for, but we do need to come together at some point. This is untenable. The division is untenable. At some point, we have to come together. So I think that this is going to be the first step in accomplishing that.
I hope this helps. I hope this, you get some wins and start to bring the town together and have more sanity and people are heard. I mean, that's really, there's not representation. People aren't being heard. People aren't being respected. So hopefully
Right.
voters decide and really bring it out. we had another question here that keeps coming up. People want to know, what are your thoughts on Chris Albert? He's a select board member. Apparently he's moved to Stoughton. He's no longer living in Canton. It's been reported.
I can't confirm that, but what I'll say is that an excuse will be made. It will be accepted by the people that are there, and it will be moved, and they'll move on. So everyone who thinks that's going to be some kind of smoking gun, I'm afraid it won't be, based on past practice. He didn't pay his tax. He misrepresented paying his taxes. They didn't care. So why are they going to care if he moved out of town?
True.
At this point. So I think it's going to amount to be a nothing burger, unfortunately, because of the past history.
Too bad. Now it's interesting that Chief Berkowitz is now there. He's having his phones turned over. I mean, what have people in town? Have you heard people talking about that? That Chief Berkowitz is now part of the Karen Reed case?
Oh, he's been talked about long before this came up. Long before it came up. Ever since he resigned, and people have been posturing why that was. Was it his health? Was it, what was? And then as the spool of yarn unraveled, the signs kept pointing that maybe he was involved in this. So his name coming up, and again, that's somebody I had high esteem for. I thought he did a great job during the Black Lives Matter, during the pandemic, and rallying the town together for that. And he made a really nice speech. And again, as someone new to town, I'm like, oh wow, that's great that the police chief is stepping up. So it's disappointing that these things are coming out to the contrary.
Mazza Media, you have any comments or questions for John right now?
Yeah, I do. I just think that the town of Canton and everyone in that 903 random citizens have been doing what they needed to do. I think that early on, when this cover up was starting with the Karen Reed and the questions were being asked about the Canton PD, they stonewalled Rita Lombardi and many others, Angela and Jen and all of them, that had gone to the microphone, and they tried to have a public discussion, and I think they did everything the right way. They went to the select board, they tried to present what they thought and tried to get resolution, and the select board just stonewalled them, and then eventually last fall would start shutting down the talking sessions, talking times, and is literally walking out the door. And I think initially, the idea was to talk to the select board, try to create about resolution, and then from there, hopefully there'd be some progress. But when you guys got stonewalled, you kind of all collectively said, well, we really have no choice but to start running now and step in and start to essentially clean house if need be, and take over, because if your voice isn't heard, then these people don't necessarily represent you and your concerns, and they're not going to hear from the citizens. And at that particular point, what answer do you have but to run for select board, run for school committee, et cetera, and step in and do what you got to do. And I applaud everyone, whether you're actually running or whether you're supporting or whether you're holding a picket sign or voting. I applaud everyone in that town. And like you said, with the vote for the police audit back in October, I believe it was last year, they're just kind of sandbagging, everyone now about that, and basically not doing anything again. And it's just, when that's the case, it's like, well, you may as well just start running yourselves and take their positions over, because if they're not going to do the job, then somebody, the good people of Canton that are for good and for democracy need to be the ones that get in there and take those positions then. So you guys are awesome, and I applaud you guys for what you're doing, and you guys have been absolutely awesome. You guys have been fearless and brave and brazen, and I think you guys have taken the right steps every single step of the way. And I love the community atmosphere, and you have so many people from outside of Canton that are holding signs to make sure that the voters in town can be informed. And I'm looking forward to the results on that one. I wish I was a Canton resident so I could vote as well. So.
Absolutely.
And you know what? The only things we want are truth and transparency. That's all we want.
Exactly.
It's that simple. And explanations, and just nothing. Stop the backroom deals. Like, bring it to the forefront. That's all we're asking for. And it seems like I don't understand the opposition to that. The faction in town that wants to shut us up. I guess you're getting something good out of this, and that's great. But many of us are not, and more than half the town is not. This faction does not make up 50% of this town. As they'd like to think that they do not. So I just don't understand what the problem with truth and transparency is.
Right. And that's the issue. It sounds to me, that's kind of how I gauge it as an outside observer of what was going on in those select board meetings week after week. It's just they're not transparent. They're not forthcoming. And at that particular point, when these officials are elected for their positions on select board or any other position or committee in town, how do you function when these people can't even respond to you and want to shut down talking time and do what they did in the last select board meeting as well? Well, we'll just run out the door and shut off talking time and close public comment, and that's that. It's like, well, the town elected you folks to your positions.
Right.
And at that particular point, if you can't fulfill this position and answer to the people that elected you, well, we know I guess Rita Lombardi's gonna have to take one of those seats, and I look forward to that.
They don't want to hear the criticism. They don't want, they're not being civil, they're being nasty. Well, why are they being civil and why are they being nasty? They don't just wake up one morning and go, you know what, I'm bored. I'm going to go to the select board meeting and tear shit up. There's a reason behind that, and you don't want to listen to the reason behind it. So the consequence of that is getting dressed down at that microphone. And, I can't feel bad.
No, not at all. They forced the town's hand to make you guys make these decisions that you have to do. It was something that months ago, many people that are running right now had no interest in running months ago. But after what we've all seen and learned and what they've all seen and learned, they're like, well, I'm running myself now. And I remember Rita was on the fence about it early on. And then when she came to her decision, I was extremely happy because it's just, I think someone said it, Rita's just cut out for it. She has that, she sees outside of her own views as well, where she just doesn't go for her own views. She goes for a shared view over a shared discussion to get a shared result. And that's truly democracy. And I think she's definitely cut out for it. She's going to be a great success. Everyone that's running,
willing to listen to the other side. And
Right.
she has already, and she's confronted with it every day with trolls. And, like I said, that faction in town that, doesn't want any of us to succeed, it seems. So
let me ask you this question, because you mentioned the trolls. There's been a lot of stress and pressure put on people, police officers showing up at people's houses, nasty letters, anonymous letters being sent. You're speaking out tonight. A lot of Canton residents have felt that pressure and those threats. Do you feel safe? Do you feel like, for speaking out tonight, like you're taking a risk at all?
I'm not taking any risks. Listen, any of them can come on your show, Mike, can't they? Wouldn't you have any if they said, I want to put this is a marketplace of ideas, is it not? Any of them can come on this show and argue their point as to why things should stay the same in Canton.
Canton residents always get preferential treatment.
So where are they?
Yeah.
If they're big and bad and powerful, where are they? They're only on social media and behind the scenes and writing op-eds in the Canton Citizen. That's where they're at. They're not here on the front lines. Like I challenge them.
I would love to have Paul McCall.
Come on, Brian LTL.
Yeah,
go on the Glare. Oh, whew, good luck.
Any of the town club people, they want to come
Any
on.
of them.
Welcome, John, the Conley, any of them.
If you're protecting Canton, you're the moral high ground of Canton. You fight for Canton then.
Come on the show. I mean, I have plenty of politicians on this show, and we treat them well, even when we don't agree with them. So,
but that
less so when they don't come on.
But I'm not threatened in any way. I'm just sharing my opinion, and you take it or leave it. I don't care.
The only thing you have to fear is them sending Domino's to your house later tonight, which is not a bad thing in my opinion.
Wow.
I just pay for the pizza.
You just make sure you got some cash and enjoy it.
Tip the driver.
I've enjoyed some pizza being delivered. I very much enjoyed it. I was like,
Yeah,
I got my money ready, and I was
no,
ready to
I'm
go.
not about doxing, and
I'm not either, but if it happens, it's not really. It's like, come
but
on.
I feel bad for people that do legitimately feel threatened.
Oh,
in
I
any
do too.
way.
I'm not making light of it. I'm just saying for me, I don't really care.
It's sad. Um,
I don't like it when they do it to women and a family member.
well, that's the main target is women too, and that
exactly.
makes me
Yeah. They always get a little
upset.
brazen as well. Yeah, I noticed that too. They always tend to, you know.
Yeah, and what's going on now is that at the early polling place at town hall, apparently there have been people lurking, asking people who they voted for,
Oh boy.
or going in, who are you going to vote for? And the answer is none of your effing business. If anyone
Yeah.
Yeah.
ever came up to you and asked you that, unless you are a registered exit poller and you have the
Right.
credentials for that, you don't owe anyone an explanation of what
And
you're
even
doing.
then, you don't
town
even have
hall.
to tell an exit poll or anything. You don't have to
Yeah.
say anything.
So, and this is the one place, unlike the special town meeting where we had to hold up cards and show our vote, and
Ballot is
in my
secret.
case,
The
in
ballot
the
is secret.
cafeteria,
Vote
you
for
had to
whoever you want.
parade around with your card 3 times, literally parade around the room to get the clicks. So this is not that. This is traditional voting. This is private. No one's going to know the outcome if you don't share it. So if there's any time for you to feel comfortable and safe voting, it's this time. And no one can look over your shoulder and see who you're voting for. So this is the time. And that's why I'm here today. I just want to make those people that may feel threatened to say, this is your chance to be heard safely and legally.
Absolutely. I have another question for you too, John. With the police audit, supposedly there's ballot nominations going on to fill out the rest of those seats. Did you sign the initial petition? You didn't, so you didn't. You're not
No.
in that. Okay.
No, I'm not involved in that.
Have you heard that people have been getting ballots?
Yes. So I'd rather have Rita or Kathleen explain this because they'll be very
They're the
articulate
experts.
about it. But they're Rita and Kathleen are handling it. I think that you can rest assured.
They're handling it good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a little worried because I know they have campaigns too, and they've got so much. Canton residents have put so much on these women. Just that's a lot of responsibility right now for them.
Yep. But there are brave soldiers, and that's why I'm here to support them.
Now, Mazza, they're asking more questions about your real name. I don't know if this is a troll trying to find out info on you. but-
No, I think Stephanie's good. I think she's on our
All
side.
right,
My first name
good.
is Mark.
All right, it is
Yeah.
Mark.
Yep.
All right, so Mark Mazza,
Yep. There you go.
Mazza Media.
Doxed. I got
This
another
is
question.
go
Another
ahead.
question for John. I've always wondered this. What was the mood like in public? And I mean, when I say public, when you're going to a local restaurant, you're going to your local supermarket, like especially during the peak of the police audit election, what was just the general atmosphere of people running into each other from opposing views that knew they had opposing views in a public place in town, especially going back to last fall?
It depends. Some people are willing to talk one-on-one, and they're a different person than when they're in the hive, and they have their buddies to amp them up. Um, I'll tell you just the general mood around town. Yes, there's tents. It's divided in tents, but I can go anywhere in town, run errands, go to the grocery store, eat at a local, CF McCarthy's, Waterfall, gather, Elsie's table, wherever. And people are very nice and kind. 'Cause that's what our town's about, and it's what it should be about. It's unless you go drilling for information, people are
Hmm,
generally kind in this town.
that's good to hear.
And I don't have a problem really with anybody in town. I don't. Um, I judge what goes on in the public marketplace, but if you don't put anything in the public marketplace, I got no problem with you. So
Right,
There you
right.
go. And most
Awesome.
people don't.
Great answer.
Awesome. I want to thank you both for being here tonight. John, do you have any final thoughts about this election on Tuesday, or anything you want to share, or just
Definitely vote. Vote smart too, and know your rights, and know that your vote is safe. Do not share with people. Don't let anyone intimidate you. When you show up to your polling precinct, you have one job, is to fill in those circles. That's it. If you feel uncomfortable, bring a friend. Like I said, make a day of it. Everybody go vote in a group, come out in a group. But the intimidation tactics have to stop. The feeling unsafe has got to stop. This is ridiculous. This is not a town I want to live in. If this is, going to be, you can't trust your neighbor or anything like that. We should be able to trust our neighbors. And I definitely, I've loved living here since 2019, and I want to keep it to the same spirit that I came into it. And that's why I'm fighting hard for it,
Thank you so much, John, for being here tonight.
Thank you, Mike. I always love coming on here.
I love you. You're a good guest. And like Mazza Media, I find my people and I know who they are. And you guys, I got to thank both of you guys. You guys are both, I seriously, you guys have stood by me through my toughest times, checking in as like personally.
Absolutely.
I really love John and Mazza Media, and really happy to have you guys back on the show tonight.
Yes.
And it was a great show. You have any final thoughts tonight too, Mazza?
Nope, just well, nothing much, but just I'm rooting for the town of Canton, and John, I just like the head you have on your shoulders. You're very smart, and I like the way you speak and talk, and you speak from fairness, and you speak fairly, and you're not saying anything you're saying because it's looking to take over the town. You're doing it, as you've said, because it's a matter of bringing back the town, holding the town accountable,
Yeah.
and the committee is accountable. So I like the way you speak and you talk, and I think everything you had to say was great. And we're rooting for you. We really are. And this is just the way this thing's evolved from just the Karen Reed case all the way through Turtle Boy, the Canton Nine, the random citizens of Canton, and it's just been a multifaceted um, events at every level, and we're rooting for you, and I can't wait to see the outcome, and I'll be blasting that all over my X page once you guys all get everybody in. So like John said, vote, vote, vote. And
Yes,
if you
please
feel like
vote.
you're going to be busy later in the day, vote early. And if feel like you're going to be busy early in the day, vote late or whatever. Just vote when you can, I guess I'll say it that way, and get out there and get these individuals elected, Patricia and Jen and Rita, and just get there, circles circled in, and get them elected. And I look forward to victory speeches. So that's
I
all I got to
can't
say.
wait. It's going to be good. Hopefully on
Yeah.
Tuesday night, we find out we get some big wins.
Yeah. If the select board can't handle Rita now, just wait till she's actually sitting in one of their seats. That's going to be funny. It's like, oh, guess who's here now? Oh, excellent.
Thank you so much, all of you tonight. And also, we had a great guest earlier, Lauren De Laguna. She was awesome. She was great.
She was great. I like her personality too. She's
Me
very
too. She's very pumped up.
entertaining. Yeah.
I was almost like, I'm sorry I can't keep up with you because I walked too many dogs today, but she was on fire. I liked her a lot. She's like another Rita, and just we have so many great guests that come on the show, and I'm really enjoying the community we have here. I again want to thank MJ. She did a phenomenal job tonight in the chat. She got a bunch of new members, which is awesome. I want to thank Diana G. We got another super chat from her. She just gifted us 5 more Young Jerks memberships. So she's giving out 10 new memberships tonight on her. I thank you so much, Diane.
I don't want to throw up my back on another super chat. So,
Oh, you're giving us super chat too?
oh, I didn't know if that was a super. It was a membership gift. So,
Oh, you got a membership on there. Are you Bob Brown?
no.
Oh, maybe I didn't see it yet. It's funny. I guess they don't all show up yet. Thank you so much, John. And another new member. We love it. Phenomenal. I want to thank everyone. I'm not sure when we'll be back, but we'll be back. We got some big shows we're working on and planning. And again, I want to thank everyone, Mazza Media, John, for being here, all our guests, listeners. Turtle Boy's going to be on at 9 p.m., isn't he, tonight?
Yeah, 5 minutes to go. You bet. Yep. That's what I'll be
So,
watching next.
yeah, I think we'll all go check out that next too.
Exactly.
So
Shout out to Diane.
Angela said,
Diane's
"Oh my God, are you Bob Brown?" She thought the same thing. She thought you might be Bob Brown because Bob Brown also signed up tonight. That's so funny. All right, guys. Thank you so much. And thank everyone for listening. And we'll see you next time. Thank you. Have a great night, everyone.